Okay, so welcome back. In this short lecture, we're going to set up a professional programming environment to interact with Julia, but the same concept will hold for Python. So in order to do this, everyone should first download the Anaconda Navigator, available at anaconda.com. As soon as you go to that link, you'll see a download button. Just click on that and download it. Now, when you download Anaconda, this will install a large collection of Python packages that are used in data science and in general programming, as well as several IDEs. And if I click on my Anaconda Navigator after downloading, you'll see a screen that looks like this. And each of these little buttons here will launch an IDE or an integrated development environment that you can use to interact with Python. And also, you can install RStudio and interact with R. So natively, Anaconda will provide you with all you'll possibly ever need in terms of Python, and then almost the same with R. But it does not natively come supported with Julia. And Julia is the primary language that we've been using in this course, so we need to set this up. Now, in order to do this, make sure that you have Anaconda installed, and then go to julialang.org and make sure that you have the latest version of Julia installed. Most of you already have this installed, so we can kind of skim over that. And once you have Anaconda and Julia both installed, we can next set up Julia with an IDE called Jupyter Notebooks. So if I bring back my Anaconda Navigator, you'll see this Jupyter Notebook thing right here. What we need to do is install what's called a kernel for Julia to interact with Jupyter Notebooks, which, by the way, the name Jupyter actually comes from Julia, Python, and R. So Julia is very much a part of the Jupyter Notebook ecosystem. So to do this, after Julia has been downloaded, I'm going to launch the Julia REPL by just opening up Julia. Here it goes. This is what it looks like for me. And I'm going to go into the package mode by just typing the right square bracket. Okay, maybe I can make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so this key on your keyboard will open up the package manager. So I'm going to type that. And now I'm going to add the iJulia kernel. Okay, so capital I, capital J. So we're going to add that. I forget if I have it already installed. I probably do, so it'll be really quick. Yep, I have it installed already. And once you've added iJulia, you have access to the Julia kernel for Jupyter Notebooks. As a caution though, sometimes I've had to run the command build iJulia in order for that kernel to appear. Okay, so now that I've built it and added it, I can type status, and I can look at all of the packages that I currently have installed with my global version of Julia. So I have plots, my REPL, iJulia, that's the one we're going to need, data frames, a bunch of different ones. Now, for our purposes, we're definitely going to need plots. So at some point, you'll probably just need to do this. So just add the plots package if you don't already have it. And again, you can check the status of your global version of Julia by just typing status in the package mode. And to get out of the package mode, just press delete or backspace. Okay, so that's it. Now that we've installed Anaconda, Julia, and then opened up the REPL and installed iJulia with the package mode, we can now open up Anaconda. You might have to restart Anaconda to see the kernel, but if you don't see it, just restart Anaconda. And then go to the Jupyter Notebook button and just click there. So this will open up a locally hosted tab in your web browser. So whatever web browser that you have set by default to be your standard, That's what it's going to open up in. And when you are viewing this, this is your home directory, right? Your root directory. So I see like documents, desktop, applications, whatever. So these are just like your folders. So for example, maybe I want to create a folder for this course, Math 2421. So I can go to Documents. And then I see a bunch of my folders here. Maybe I'll go to UHD Teaching. Again, these are all local to my machine. It's going to look different on your machine. And I'm in a place where I want to put some Jupyter notebooks. So now that I'm in here, maybe I can just say maybe new folder. And I can click on this and see how it navigates into an empty folder. But if I want to rename it, I just click right here on the little button right here, and then just type rename, and I'll call this Math-2421 Summer 2022, sorry. So now I've made a new folder inside of this folder. Okay, and I can verify that just by like opening up my documents tab here, and I see like, okay, documents, UHD Teaching, and then Math 2421 Summer 2022. So there's nothing in there, but I'm going to put all of my Jupyter notebooks that are related to this course in this folder. So once I've created this empty folder, I can start adding Jupyter notebooks. So go over here, new. Notice that it by default comes with the Python 3 kernel, but now I also have the Julia kernel because I use the Julia REPL to add the iJulia package, which gives me access to Julia and Jupyter notebooks. So if I just click new notebook and I click on Julia, I'm now in a Jupyter notebook. Now, Jupyter notebooks are one of the primary ways that a data scientist will interact with a programming language. The reason for this is that they're really quick and easy to visualize things with. You can make presentations with them, and you can just do quick and dirty data manipulation, optimization, machine learning, things like this. Now for professional applications and development projects, you'll use something called Visual Studio Code or VS Code. But for everyday data scientists, this is the way that I interact, and the majority of data scientists interact with data, with notebooks. And notebooks they consist of what's called code cells. So this cell right here, maybe I'll make this bigger. Oh. Okay. In fact, let me go ahead and switch my screen so we can see this better. So hopefully all of you can see my just the notebook cell. Okay, so just the notebook, this untitled notebook. So notebooks consist of code cells, which this is a code cell because it's blinking, and then also Markdown cells and some other cells. But realistically, most of you are only going to use code cells and Markdown cells. So this is a code cell, but maybe I want to give it give this notebook a title. So I will change the cell to Markdown, and then I can use Markdown syntax like shift pound, so the pound symbol, my first, my first Jupyter notebook. I can press enter, and it makes new lines in this Markdown cell. Okay. And if I want to run this cell, I press shift enter. And you see that a new cell appeared, and now there's a title above. If I want to reopen this cell, I just double click it, and now it's back to where it was. Now this is not coding, this is just making your notebooks look nice, but it's a good way of documenting code. for example, if I go to like my GitHub account, let's say my data science course from this previous spring, and I just click on one of these notebooks, you can see that the markdown that I put here, like there's a title, there's stuff, there's like code. It's a way of like instructing what's to happen. It's a way of like making presentations in a sense. Let's look at like a different one, maybe like, so see here that there's markdown and then there's code, and we'll get to like doing like writing code cells in a moment, but just notice that the markdown gives a description of what's going on below, right? So you don't have to do anything with markdown in this course, but in your future data science courses and with your Jupyter notebooks, it helps to write descriptions of what's going on, not only for yourself, but well, you have to remember, like sometimes you'll write code and then come back to it like a year later and you won't know what's going on. So having like good descriptions of what's happening in these Jupyter notebooks is really beneficial. But then also, if you start housing these notebooks on a GitHub repository, you can share these with employers when you are looking for internships or after you graduate. So back to the Markdown. If you want to know more, I would just look up like Markdown cheat sheet. Just search on Google and you'll see that like, oh, headings, bold text, block quotes, ordered list, like everything that you need is there, and you can just reference those whenever you're putting things in. So for example, we see like there's different headings, 1 pound symbol, 2 pounds. So like, and you can just start adding subsections this way, or like, and then if you don't want it to be entitled, you just type in this notebook, we program some Julia code. Press Shift Enter, and then you see that you can start building up your own notes. So if you're the kind of person that writes very meticulous notes, I think that you'll enjoy using Markdown syntax in Markdown cells in your Jupyter notebooks. Okay, so enough about that. Let's do a little bit of coding. So if I look up here to my right, I see that we're using Julia version 1.7.2. So we can type Julia code in these cells. So for example, I can do print line, hello world, like that, and then press Shift Enter. And we see that the output of the code cell appears directly below that cell in question. And the little number here, 1, means that this is a code cell and this is the first cell that's been run. So for example, if I wanted to find like a variable, like x is equal to 2, and maybe another variable, y is equal to 4, press enter. Maybe I'll do like another print line. We have defined some variables. Press Shift Enter to run that cell. We've defined variables, but we've also, like we've defined variables, and then at the very end, we call the print statement. But those variables still exist. So if I just come to this cell and press like X, Shift Enter, I'll see that the out is 2, because that's what X was assigned to. And then we see that this is the third code cell run. But I can run this cell again. I can just delete that, do Y. And now we see that we've run this 4. Like this is the 4th code cell to be run. And we can just do like X plus Y. Shift Enter, there's 6. Okay. So as you can probably tell, like this is kind of useful. Like with the Julia REPL, we're always like refreshing our screen, and like we might forget like what is going on prior. With Jupyter notebooks, we can kind of sequentially go down and keep track of what's happening. Okay, so maybe we can look at like plotting stuff. So earlier I showed all of you that I had installed plots.jl using the package manager, just add capital P plots. So I can do using plots. Okay. And then maybe inside this one code cell, I want to plot a function. So like f of x is equal to x squared. And then maybe plot f. Press Shift Enter. Now, as I might have mentioned prior, but I definitely need to mention now, you'll notice that this code cell is taking longer to run. And that's because whenever you import a package and you use a function from that package, it takes a little bit of time to run the first time. But after you run that first time, then it's really fast. It should just pop up now. Okay. But again, this isn't really a nice plot. Maybe I want to change the legend. A label equals to f of x equals to x squared, like that. Maybe I want to, yeah, that's probably good enough. Press Shift Enter, and then we see that the label changed. But sometimes when you're plotting things, especially, you'll have many arguments, keyword arguments that you want to pass into the plot function. So what you can do is just press Enter and then start layering them over each other. So comma, tab over, and then maybe like title equals to my first plot. There it appears. Maybe we want to limit the x values, so I can go, okay, up here, comma, x limbs equal to, let's say like 0 to 4 or something like that. Press Shift Enter. We see that we've changed this. Okay. Also, if the white background theme is not your style, you can do theme : dark. So it's like a dark theme. And this is a function that was imported when we imported plots above. So theme comes from plots. So if we call theme and set it to be dark, and then I can just maybe come up here, copy that code, and then put it underneath that. Press Shift Enter. We see that the plot changed. Okay. So maybe from here on, you might want to start practicing working in Jupyter notebooks, just because they are so prevalent in the data science world. So I think maybe that'll be it for this recording. I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording, and we'll make another one on using a more advanced editor in a moment.